On the morning of May 24, 2019, Jennifer Dulos kissed her 5 children goodbye and dropped them off at their private school in New Canaan, Connecticut. She was captured on her neighbor's security camera returning home at 8:05 a.m., driving her black Chevrolet Suburban. But that brief glimpse would be the last time anyone would see Jennifer alive. By 7 p.m. that same evening, when her nanny and friends couldn't reach her, panic set in. Jennifer had missed 2 important doctor's appointments in New York City, something completely out of character for this devoted mother of 5. When police arrived at her colonial home, what they discovered would launch a murder investigation that would captivate the nation and expose a conspiracy involving her estranged husband, his Venezuelan girlfriend, and their attorney. This is the story of Jennifer Dulos, a woman whose disappearance would unravel a complex web of lies, financial ruin, and betrayal that ultimately led to multiple arrests, a suicide, and a conviction that made headlines across America. Even today, more than 5 years later, Jennifer's body has never been found, but the legal battles continue to make news. Jennifer Farber was born into privilege on September 27, 1968, in New York City. Her father, Hilliard Farber, was a successful banker, and her mother, Gloria Ortenberg, came from fashion royalty. Her aunt and uncle founded the legendary Liz Claiborne clothing empire. Jennifer seemed destined for success herself, graduating from Brown University in 1990 and later earning a master's degree in writing from New York University's prestigious Tisch School of the Arts. But it was at Brown where Jennifer's life would take a fateful turn. She met Fotis Dulos, a charismatic student from Greece who had moved to the United States in 1986. Born in Turkey but raised in Athens, Fotis was ambitious and charming. He graduated from Brown in 1989, just a year before Jennifer, and went on to earn an MBA from Columbia Business School. Here's where the story gets complicated. Fotis was already married to another Brown graduate, Hilary Vanessa Aldama, when he started emailing Jennifer. Their correspondence continued throughout his 4-year marriage, which ended in divorce in 2004. Barely a month after his divorce was finalized, Fotis and Jennifer were married in Manhattan. The couple seemed to have it all. They moved to an upscale home in Farmington, Connecticut, where Fotis founded 4 Group Incorporated, a luxury real estate development company. Jennifer embraced her role as a stay-at-home mother, writing for Patch.com and maintaining her own blog. Together, they welcomed 5 children, all named after Greek Orthodox saints, 3 sons, Petros, Theodore and Constantine, and 2 daughters, Christiane and Cleopatra Noel, including 2 sets of twins. But beneath this picture-perfect facade, cracks were beginning to show. In a 2012 blog post, Jennifer wrote something that would later seem prophetic. "I wish I were a strong person and that confrontation did not both scare and appall me." Those words would take on a chilling significance when investigators later examined the circumstances of her disappearance. As the years passed, Jennifer began to notice Fotis living an increasingly independent life. She discovered he was having an affair with Michelle Troconis, a Venezuelan woman who worked with his company. Michelle, who had a daughter from a previous relationship with an Argentine Olympic skier, was about to become a central figure in this unfolding tragedy. In 2017, Jennifer made a decision that would ultimately cost her everything. She filed for divorce. That same month, she moved 70 miles away from their Farmington home to New Canaan, Connecticut, taking all 5 children with her. What followed was a bitter custody battle that would dominate the final 2 years of Jennifer's life. Jennifer's divorce filings revealed the depth of her fear. She wrote, "I know that filing for divorce and filing this motion will enrage him. I know he will retaliate by trying to harm me in some way." These weren't just the words of an angry spouse, they were the documented fears of a woman who knew her husband better than anyone. The allegations Jennifer made were serious and disturbing. She claimed Fotis had threatened to kidnap their children if she didn't agree to his divorce terms. She also alleged that he had purchased a gun in 2017, ostensibly for home security, though she clearly viewed it as a threat. Fotis denied making any threats, but Jennifer's concerns were substantial enough that she repeatedly sought emergency custody orders. The court battles were intense and frequent, with both parents filing numerous motions accusing the other of disparagement. But Jennifer's fears proved justified when, in early 2018, a judge found that Fotis had violated several court orders. As a result, Jennifer was awarded sole physical custody of their children, while both parents maintained joint legal custody. Fotis was relegated to supervised visitation and monitored phone calls, a humiliating restriction for a man who valued control. Meanwhile, the financial pressure was mounting. After Jennifer's father died in February 2018, her mother, Gloria Farber, sued Fotis for unpaid loans totaling $1.7 million that Jennifer's father had given him. By the time of Jennifer's disappearance, Fotis Dulos was essentially bankrupt, his real estate empire crumbling around him. Adding insult to injury, Michelle Troconis and her daughter had moved into the family's former Farmington home while Jennifer struggled as a single mother in New Canaan. The stage was set for a confrontation that would have deadly consequences. May 24, 2019, started like any other Friday morning for Jennifer Dulos. She woke up in her rented colonial home in New Canaan, prepared her 5 children for school, and drove them to New Canaan Country School. Security cameras captured her making this routine trip at around 8 a.m. But what happened next would become the subject of intense police investigation and courtroom drama. At 8:05 a.m., a neighbor's security camera recorded Jennifer returning home alone in her black Chevrolet Suburban. This would be the last confirmed sighting of Jennifer Dulos alive. What investigators believe happened next is both calculated and horrific. According to police, Fotis had been planning this attack for some time. Evidence suggests he rode a bicycle to Jennifer's neighborhood and hid near her home, waiting for her to return from the school drop-off. The bicycle tire tracks found at the scene would later become crucial evidence in the investigation. When Jennifer arrived home and pulled into her garage, Fotis was there waiting. What followed was a violent assault that investigators believe resulted in Jennifer's death. The evidence left behind painted a gruesome picture of what transpired in that garage. Police found blood spatter on the garage floor, door, and walls. Jennifer's Range Rover, which was still parked in the garage, had blood on its exterior. More disturbing was the blood found in the kitchen, and DNA testing would later reveal most of it belonged to Jennifer. However, blood found on the kitchen faucet contained DNA from both Jennifer and Fotis, evidence that would prove crucial in establishing his presence at the crime scene. But Jennifer wasn't the only one who failed to show up that day. She had scheduled 2 doctor's appointments in New York City, at 11 a.m. and 1 p.m., both of which she missed without calling to cancel. This was completely out of character for Jennifer, who was known for her reliability and consideration. At 11:30 a.m., Lauren Almeida, Jennifer's nanny, arrived at the house as scheduled. She was surprised to see Jennifer's Range Rover still in the garage, as Jennifer had planned to take it to her appointments instead of the Suburban. But the Suburban was nowhere to be found. While Jennifer's friends and family were beginning to worry about her absence, security cameras throughout Connecticut were capturing a different story, the story of a cover-up in progress. At approximately 10:25 that morning, just 20 minutes after Jennifer was last seen returning home, her neighbor's security camera recorded her black Chevrolet Suburban leaving her driveway. But Jennifer wasn't driving. According to investigators, it was Fotis Dulos behind the wheel, and the vehicle likely contained Jennifer's body along with evidence from the cleanup. The Suburban was later discovered abandoned along a road near Mawhinney Park in New Canaan, just over 3 miles from Jennifer's home. The strategic location wasn't random, it was close enough to suggest Jennifer might have gone for a walk or jog, providing a potential alternate explanation for her disappearance. But Fotis's day was far from over. That evening, around 7:30 p.m., ironically, just as Jennifer's friends were reporting her missing, Fotis and Michelle Troconis were captured on surveillance cameras in Hartford, Connecticut, engaged in suspicious activity that would ultimately seal their fate. The cameras showed the pair methodically visiting dozens of garbage bins throughout the city, dumping bag after bag of refuse. This wasn't random disposal, it was a calculated attempt to scatter evidence across multiple locations, making it harder for police to piece together the crime. What they didn't count on was law enforcement's determination. Police painstakingly recovered garbage bags from 30 different bins throughout Hartford. When they examined the contents, they found a treasure trove of evidence that would build the prosecution's case. The bags contained bloodied clothing, cleaning supplies stained with blood, and other items that clearly indicated a violent crime had taken place. DNA testing confirmed that the blood belonged to Jennifer. But even more damaging was what investigators found on some of the evidence: Fotis's DNA on the inside of a glove and on one of the garbage bags themselves. This evidence painted a clear picture. Fotis had not only committed the crime but had spent considerable time cleaning up the scene before making the trip to Hartford with Michelle to dispose of the evidence. As news of Jennifer's disappearance spread, law enforcement launched a massive search operation. The investigation involved multiple agencies, including the Connecticut State Police, FBI, and local police departments. Helicopters circled overhead, K-9 units combed through wooded areas, and divers searched bodies of water throughout Fairfield County. The search focused heavily on properties connected to Fotis's real estate business. Investigators examined numerous locations in and around Farmington, looking for any trace of Jennifer. The effort was exhaustive but frustrating. Despite searching multiple properties and following numerous leads, Jennifer's body remained elusive. The investigation took investigators deep into the financial troubles plaguing Fotis's business empire. They discovered that Four Group Incorporated was drowning in debt, with projects stalled and creditors circling. The $1.7 million lawsuit filed by Jennifer's mother had only added to the pressure. For a man who had built his identity around success and control, the financial collapse was devastating. Investigators also uncovered the extent of the acrimonious divorce proceedings. They reviewed hundreds of court documents, emails, and text messages that revealed the depth of animosity between Jennifer and Fotis. Jennifer's documented fears about her safety became crucial evidence, showing that she had reason to believe her estranged husband posed a threat. The timeline investigators constructed was methodical and damning. They established that Fotis had opportunity, motive, and the means to commit the crime. The bicycle evidence suggested premeditation. This wasn't a crime of passion but a calculated murder. One of the most intriguing aspects of the investigation was the search that took place in January 2021, nearly 2 years after Jennifer's disappearance. Connecticut State Police returned to a property on Mountain Spring Road in Farmington that had once been owned by Fotis's real estate company. They brought in specialized equipment, including an excavator and experts in locating unmarked graves. The search generated significant media attention, with investigators digging up portions of the yard and examining a septic tank. However, despite the thorough search, police announced afterward that they had no updates to provide. The location of Jennifer's remains continued to be a mystery. On June 1, 2019, just 8 days after Jennifer's disappearance, the investigation reached its first major milestone. Fotis Dulos and Michelle Troconis were arrested at a hotel in Avon, Connecticut. The charges, tampering with evidence and hindering prosecution, were serious but fell short of murder charges due to insufficient evidence at that time. Both defendants pleaded not guilty and were released on bail. Fotis immediately hired Norman Pattis, a high-profile defense attorney known for taking on controversial cases. Pattis would later make headlines with his aggressive defense strategy and inflammatory public statements about the case. In the aftermath of the arrests, Jennifer's 5 children, ranging in age from 8 to 13, were placed in the care of their maternal grandmother, Gloria Farber, in New York City. The children, who had already endured years of their parents' bitter divorce proceedings, now faced the unimaginable reality that their mother was missing and their father was accused of involvement in her disappearance. The legal proceedings moved slowly through 2019, with both Fotis and Michelle facing additional charges in September. They again pleaded not guilty, but investigators were building a stronger case based on the evidence recovered from the Hartford garbage bins and other forensic evidence. Behind the scenes, the relationship between Fotis and Michelle was deteriorating under the pressure of the investigation. By late October 2019, Michelle and her daughter had moved out of Fotis's Farmington home. This development was significant because it suggested cracks in their united front against the charges. The investigation also revealed disturbing information about Kent Mawhinney, Fotis's attorney and friend, who would later become the third person charged in connection with Jennifer's murder. Mawhinney had his own legal troubles. His wife had accused him of spousal violence and had told police she feared he and Fotis were conspiring against her. Even more suspicious was the discovery of a shallow grave on property owned by Mawhinney. The grave contained 2 bags of lime and a blue tarp, but no body. Investigators believed the grave had been prepared but ultimately not used, possibly because the original plan had been altered or abandoned. January 7, 2020, marked a turning point in the case when Connecticut State Police arrested all 3 suspects on upgraded charges. Fotis was charged with capital murder, and kidnapping, charges that carried the possibility of life in prison or even the death penalty. Michelle Troconis and Kent Mawhinney were both charged with conspiracy to commit murder. The arrests came after months of intensive investigation and were based on the substantial evidence investigators had collected. The prosecution alleged that all 3 had played roles in planning and executing Jennifer's murder, as well as covering up the crime. Fotis's bond was set at an astronomical $6 million, but he was released the following day after posting bail. His next court appearance was scheduled for February 28th, but Fotis Dulos would never make it to that hearing. Jennifer's family released a statement after the arrests that captured their complex emotions. Although we are relieved that the wait for these charges is over, for us, there is no sense of closure. Nothing can bring Jennifer back. We miss her every day and will forever mourn her loss. Meanwhile, Michelle Troconis, also out on bail, issued her own statement claiming it was a mistake to have trusted Fotis but maintaining she didn't know what happened to Jennifer. This statement would later be scrutinized during her trial as prosecutors argued she was far more involved in the conspiracy than she claimed. On January 28, 2020, Fotis failed to appear at an emergency bond hearing. When police went to check on him at his Farmington home, they made a grim discovery. Fotis was found unresponsive in his garage, having attempted suicide by carbon monoxide poisoning. He had connected a vacuum cleaner hose from his SUV's exhaust pipe into the vehicle's interior, a method that nearly proved fatal. Paramedics were able to restore a faint pulse and rushed Fotis to Jacobi Medical Center in the Bronx, where he underwent hyperbaric oxygen therapy. His children were allowed to visit him before the difficult decision was made to remove him from life support. On January 30, 2020, Fotis Dulos was pronounced dead, taking whatever secrets he had about Jennifer's fate with him to the grave. With Fotis dead, the focus shifted to Michelle Troconis and Kent Mawhinney. Michelle's trial began in 2024 and became a media sensation, with prosecutors painting her as a willing participant in the conspiracy who helped her boyfriend cover up his wife's murder. The evidence against Michelle was substantial. Beyond the Hartford garbage disposal incident, prosecutors presented evidence that she had lied repeatedly to police during questioning and had helped Fotis alter his timeline for the day of the murder. Phone records, surveillance footage, and forensic evidence all supported the prosecution's case. On March 1, 2024, after deliberating for several hours, the jury found Michelle Troconis guilty on all 6 charges: conspiracy to commit murder, hindering prosecution, 2 counts of conspiracy to commit tampering with physical evidence, and 2 counts of tampering with physical evidence. The conviction was a major victory for prosecutors and Jennifer's family. During the sentencing phase in May 2024, Jennifer's children, now teenagers, provided emotional victim impact statements that brought many in the courtroom to tears. They described the devastating impact of losing their mother and having their father implicated in her murder. Michelle was sentenced to 20 years in prison, with execution suspended after 14.5 years, followed by 5 years of probation. She maintained her innocence throughout the proceedings and has filed an appeal of her conviction. Recent developments in 2024 and 2025 have continued to make headlines. Michelle faced additional contempt charges after allegedly displaying portions of a sealed court document during her trial, though these charges were ultimately dropped in June 2025. Her conviction challenge was approved to proceed to trial, meaning her legal battles are far from over. As for Kent Mawhinney, his case took a surprising turn in June 2025. Rather than face trial on the original conspiracy to commit murder charge, he accepted a plea deal and pleaded guilty to the lesser charge of interfering with an officer. He was sentenced to 11 months in jail, time he had already served, effectively ending his involvement in the case. When asked by reporters if he knew where Jennifer's body was located, Mawhinney simply replied that he did not, leaving that crucial question still unanswered. Today, more than 5 years after Jennifer Dulos disappeared, her body has never been found. Despite extensive searches, advanced forensic techniques, and the conviction of Michelle Troconis, Jennifer's final resting place remains one of the most haunting mysteries in recent Connecticut history. In October 2023, a Connecticut court granted a request to have Jennifer declared legally dead, allowing her children to inherit from both her estate and their grandmother's estate. The decision came after Jennifer's mother, Gloria Farber, expressed concerns about her advancing age and the need to secure the children's financial future. The 5 Dulos children, now ranging from teenagers to young adults, continue to live with their grandmother in New York. They have shown remarkable resilience in the face of unimaginable trauma, but the absence of their mother's remains continues to deny them complete closure. The case has had lasting impacts on Connecticut's legal system and domestic violence awareness. Jennifer's documented fears about her safety, combined with the tragic outcome, have highlighted the deadly potential of contentious divorce proceedings and the importance of taking threats seriously. Law enforcement continues to follow up on leads related to Jennifer's location, though the investigation is no longer as active as it once was. The Connecticut State Police have stated that they remain committed to finding Jennifer and bringing her home to her family. The Jennifer Dulos case represents one of the most complex and heartbreaking murder investigations in recent memory. It's a story of a mother's love, a marriage's destruction, and the ultimate price of domestic violence. While justice has been served for some of those involved, Jennifer's family continues to live with the pain of not knowing where she rests. What do you think happened to Jennifer's remains? Do you believe the right people have been held accountable, or are there still unanswered questions that deserve investigation? And perhaps most importantly, what can we learn from Jennifer's story to better protect other families facing similar situations? Leave your thoughts in the comments below. And if you found this deep dive into the Jennifer Dulos case informative, please subscribe and hit the notification bell for more true crime content. Your support helps us continue bringing you these detailed investigations into cases that matter. Thank you for watching, and remember, behind every case like this is a real family still searching for answers and healing from an unimaginable loss. See you in the next one, but until then, stay safe, stay informed, stay vigilant.